Ludus, Vulpes.
Welcome to Ludus Vulpes. My name's Kirsty.
I'm Phil.
My name's Matt from Board Game Picks.
And today we're going to run through our most anticipated games for Essen 2022.
It's here again.
Woo!
I know.
So exciting.
A whole year.
Yeah,
It's gone by.
like when you're at school, you have the academic year that runs like September through to August. Like when you're grown up, you have like the financial year maybe, or you have like the normal year through like January to December or March to April to March.
Mm-hmm.
As a gamer, you have Essen to Essen.
Yes.
That's your year.
It's the Essen calendar.
It's the Essen calendar.
Exactly.
So this is Board Game Christmas, is what
It
you're
is Board
saying?
Game Christmas. It is indeed
Yeah.
Board Game Christmas. And all three of us will be making the trip this year.
we will.
Yes,
We
that's the
will.
plan. We're all booked in to
That was the
go.
plan last time as well, but we're not going to talk about that. Yes, we are going to be there. We're going to be there a little bit early this time.
Come and say hello if you see
Yes.
us.
Feel free. Give us a little wave. Come and say hello.
If you'd like to see our Essen content as we release it,
Yes.
subscribe to this channel, subscribe to that channel, Board Game Picks, and hit the notification bell so that you get notified when we release content. We will be releasing content over our Essen period of time. So yeah, if you want to see what we're doing over there.
Yeah, I think it's got quite a few full halls this year. They reckon it's bigger than 2019, which was a really big year for gaming.
It was
just full. So hopefully building on last year as well, which would be good.
Yes.
So,
My second Essen.
your second Essen, my third Essen, your second Essen
as well, yeah.
Has to rub it in, doesn't he?
Very.
Has to rub it in.
I can't afford to miss though, otherwise you two will catch me up. So we thought we'd take you through the games that we think you should be looking out for at Essen. We either know a little bit, not a lot, or some about each of these games.
Yeah.
And we're going to start at 10 and we're going to work backwards through to our number one choices.
Technically, I'm starting at 11 because there's
Here
one
we
that
go.
just got picked
Here we
up.
go. Every time.
And honestly, these have been jigged around so many times before this video. But my technically number 11.
My technically number 11.
So you're going to kick us off then with the at 11.
With
Well,
number 11
I assume, Matt, you and I will have to wait until 10.
We'll go at 10, yeah.
is, let's put it around the right way. Now, I'm going to probably pronounce this wrong. It's Atiwa.
Okay.
Atiwa.
Yeah.
It's from Lookout Games.
It's got a cute bat on the cover.
Yeah, it has. It's got 1 to 4 players, and it's currently on the Geek at a 3 weight.
Okay.
It's from the legendary Uwe Rosenberg.
I've heard of him.
Yeah. I think. See, and do you know what? I was chatting to Matt before this video, and due to the fact that he is so well known and going to get so much coverage, and he's already got so many popular games, that's why he's number 11.
He didn't make the cut. He's not a good enough proposition.
He is, but he made my life very difficult in choosing my 10.
Mr. Rosenberg, we apologise to you for bumping you because you're successful.
No, it's not negative. So basically, a quick hint about the game. It's got automatic resource growth. It's got endgame bonuses. It's got a modular board. The turn order reflects the claim action. It's got variable player powers, and it's a worker placement.
Obviously.
I like all those things.
Yeah, there's nothing missing.
I'm in.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's in someone else's top 10 though, Kirsty.
I wonder. Well, in that case, I won't go on too much about it because it's number 11.
Okay, so speaking of top 10s, shall we do a top 10?
Yes, we can now go on to number 10.
Matt, would you like to kick us off with your number
we'll
10?
go that way. Right then. So number 10, most anticipated for Essen 2022
Dun, dun, dun.
is Woodcraft by Vladimir Suki.
Who?
He almost didn't make the cut this year.
What?
I'll tell you a bit about it. In Woodcraft, you play as forest people running competing workshops in the woods. As you are gathering wood and crafting goods for your customers along the way, you hire helpers, improve your workshop and buy different types of wood and other tools to create the best workshop that you can. We had a bit of a hint of that production flavour in Messina, didn't we?
Yeah.
You got to produce
Absolutely.
at end of every round. I quite like that. It's got contracts, dice rolling, end game bonuses, income, and it's a solo game as well.
That's good.
Reviewers are saying quite a lot of positive positive stuff about it, but for me, I really enjoy the historical aspects of
Messina.
previous games that he's done. Yeah. He's done like Shipyard, that kind of thing. So the more factually, Praga's a good example.
Yeah.
Whereas this is more fantasy. So just for me personally, it's kind of maybe not as high as other games potentially.
It's interesting because that's almost like a theme pushing you off. Like, we all know that Vladimir Suki is a great designer. Delicious Games have had a really good few years producing
the
games.
mechanics will no doubt be absolutely solid.
And it's the theme that's nudging you into your 10 slot. That's interesting.
Yeah. It's just, I suppose it's the evolution of gaming and what you enjoy a little bit. But in my notes I put down here, well done for trying something new and creating a new universe. And if you don't take chances, you get to play it. It might be the best thing since sliced bread. So we'll find out.
I have no doubt we'll find out.
That's my number 10, a game called Woodcraft by Vladimir Suki and Delicious Games.
Kirsty,
Nice. Okay.
your actual start of your list.
My number 10 is Tiletum, which is from Board and Dice.
It is indeed.
It's the designers are Simone. I'm going to be pronounce these incorrectly. So Simone Luciani and Daniele Toscani, which I'm probably said wrong. So
I like the Italian inflection on the.
Sorry, they brought.
I didn't know you could speak Italian.
No, I'm not going to.
No, don't do that.
No, I'm not going to. So
we apologise to any Italians in the audience.
I can't pronounce things properly. So they have designed games such as Gollum, Barrage, Marco Polo, Tabanusi, etc. So. These are
great pedigree.
Fantastic designers.
Really
here.
good.
I bought Barrage this week if you're interested in playing it. Yeah, so that would be a good one.
Now, the reason why this is number 10 on my list, didn't have a weight listed. And weight actually played a part in my 10s this year. So you use dice for resources and actions to gain riches in the Renaissance. It's got action points, contracts, dice rolling, endgame bonuses, point-to-point movement, set collection. And you play as, obviously, yourself, fellow players, take on the roles of rich merchants who are travelling throughout Europe during the golden age of the Renaissance. So it's the weight not listing meant that it fell towards the end of my 10.
That's fair.
I think it's a good shout for mechanics. The gameplay is always rock solid with those designers as well. It's a really good one to look forward to. Hopefully we can get a game in.
Yeah, it's obviously those that gains the highest prestige wins. It's one of those little beauties that we like. Also, the one thing which affected my list was how much imagery there was of the games. As you can see, there's 2 images that are just flicking backwards and forwards because that's all there was available.
I definitely left some off because of that. If they can't be bothered to put in it, list the game but no image, then So
that was Tiletum, a dice management game.
Cool. My number 10 is a bit of a cheat, I think. I'm not sure.
A cheat.
Yeah, well, we've played it. So.
What?
That doesn't mean anything.
So my number 10 is from We Are French. It is the Galileo project.
Galileo.
And it will be released. It will be an Essen release.
Yep.
We played it at Tabletop Scotland, actually. I had a little bit of a sneak preview.
Yep.
And honestly, the reason it's at number 10 is because we've played it before and I felt like I was cheating, but it's a game that I genuinely thoroughly enjoyed.
What kind of game is it?
So it's a open drafting card selection mechanic as a core mechanic, but you've got currency to spend. The currency is different whether you're Mars or Earth, and you're buying Mars or Earth cards.
Yeah.
You have an option to flick your currency from one type of currency to another.
For the cost of a casino chip.
Yes, you have to pay for it, and so you've got a lot of decisions. The gameplay is probably about an hour.
That's good.
You're building your sort of like a space station, like putting robots out, and they're going to score your victory points towards the end of the game, and they combine to create endgame bonuses. So it's not it's kind of set collection elements in there as well. And it just plays really smoothly, really quickly. Some really unique mechanics. Designer Adrian Helsling has put a lot of time into it. It sits within the Ganymede universe as well. If you play
Ganymede is good. There's a few. There's a roll and write game that they've got as well.
There's
Demeter.
That's it.
So honestly, I think it's it's if you get the chance to play it, it's a genuinely superb game, and can't really recommend it enough. It was fun. I really enjoyed it. Enjoyed the sort of semi-engine building aspect to it. It's a good Euro vibe, and it plays quite quick.
If you hadn't have played it, I'd be interested to see where it would have landed. So compared to other ones,
it's one of those. And I feel like games like Ganymede and this one as well have almost flown a little bit under the radar in the UK. But there's some great games there that maybe have a closer look if you get the opportunity. So that's my 10.
There's a really good use of art in that game as well, and it uses the same characters as the previously mentioned.
Oh, really?
Ganymede,
That's good.
etc.
I love stuff like that. Like a callback.
It's a clear universe that's being developed. It's really nice.
Really nice. So yeah.
Good. Excellent.
Number 9.
That was quick.
Yeah, I know.
Flying through it.
Take a breath.
10% done. So my number 9, most anticipated of Essen 22, is Joan of Arc, Orleans, Draw and Write. In Joan of Arc, Draw and Write, 1 to 5 players, draft followers that will help them move about France, gather goods, build buildings, establish trading stations, make money and contribute to beneficial deeds. The player who can best utilise the followers will score the most points and win the game. My wife and I love Orleans, and we love Roll and Write, so this is two worlds colliding, essentially.
Nice.
Do they collide well? That's going to be the question.
They've done something that I haven't seen any other Roll and Writes do. They've kept the bag, so you're drawing followers out of the bag and then filling in
So
the
it
game.
still has a bag build mechanic as well.
So I quite like that physical aspect, which I thought would be really good. DLP, my notes say they did have a bit of a disaster with Orleans stories. It didn't receive the best reception, so that's probably why it's a little bit further down.
Yeah, it's interesting because like Orleans is, I think it's a good game. I really enjoy Orleans. I prefer Altiplano. Because I like to be able to go through all my tokens rather than randomly.
You pay for them.
Putting them all back in the bag. So, but it's a small diversion from the games. But the Orleans is a fantastic game.
And I think that gave me a bit of confidence, Altiplano, because that's a good alternative. So hopefully this is something that they're building on and taking it in new directions. But they don't seem to release that many Orleans-related games. So we'll try it, and fingers crossed it's a good one. That's my number 9, Joan of Arc, Orleans, Draw and Write.
Nice.
Okay.
So on to my number 9 then. So my number 9, again, had no weight listed, but this one was playing heavily in my list. And this one is Deities from Mandu Games. It's for 2 to 4 players. It's an era majority influence set collection, square grid, tile placement game. You are an ancient deity helping mankind to develop and therefore hopefully be worshipped by them and be the best deity you can.
I'm sure they'll all worship you, Kirsty.
Oh, I hope so.
Everyone wants to be a god.
It's effectively that. And obviously then the player with the most points wins. I like this one. I think it looks really interesting. So with this one, the resources, the image can be seen above, but I'll just show the boys the image here. The resources you can collect when you make a line of them. So if you think of Dado Cheng, when you're playing Dado Cheng, there's a flip mechanism, and when you get all the colours in a row, you gain that resource. And not quite a flip mechanism, but there's a similar mechanism in this game. And I really enjoyed that about Dado Cheng. So that drew me in with this one.
Well, it's got quite a nice table presence from that image, isn't it, as well?
It's very
so it looked good on the table.
Nice, area majority. But as you can see, hopefully from the images, you can stack your
that's interesting.
as well.
Yeah.
I something about it just caught my eye. So that's my number 9.
It's interesting because I don't think I've not seen a really a god sim that I want recently, ever in board gaming. I used to love playing the god sim PC games.
Yeah, I mean,
where
Megalomania.
Yeah,
that was a good one.
So it's and that kind of thing where your population just goes and does what it does, and you have to stop them doing stupid things. I've not seen that yet, but it'll be interesting to see. Okay. Oh, hang on. go to the back of my list for my number 9, and also the front of my list.
What?
Okay, so my number 9 is the Orenburger Canal. So I know this was potentially going to be on somebody else's list, and they took it off because it's only a 2-player game.
That was me, by the way.
But once again, we've already mentioned Uwe Rosenberg once, so let's mention him again. So a couple of things that stand out to me. 1, Uwe Rosenberg.
Yeah.
2, Spielworks.
Yeah.
There's the genuine pedigree there that I expect something really exciting to be done. It's got all the things you kind of expect. It's city building, it's economic, there's going to be some manufacturing stuff in there. 2 players is interesting because I feel like a lot of the times that kind of Uwe Rosenberg games work well at 2 players anyway, frequently. So actually a dedicated 2-player game could be really good, because I think the last, I might be wrong, like Patchwork was a dedicated 2-player game.
Yeah, that's right.
This is a very different game. This is a heavier game. This is much more about creating a city and building the economic engine within that city. And over a 2-player game, I think it could be a really interesting play. And I think it's nice when a designer and a publisher will go, actually, we're going to do a 2-player game. We're going to focus on it. And the very first time we went to Essen 2019, I was talked out of, not by Matt, by other people, talked out of putting Paris City of Lights, because that's only a 2-player game. Why would you bother getting a 2-player game? That is a fantastic game.
Very good.
So I am no longer dodging 2-player games. And with Spielworks and Uwe Rosenberg developing and designing, I think this could be a really strong title.
I've been keeping my eye on this one, Phil, and I happen to know that the rules and the game say it's very simple, and the depth comes from the actual gameplay itself, so it's quite nice. You can get something deep and rewarding from simple gameplay. Yeah,
and 2-player game means it's not going to overstay its welcome. It's going to play fairly quickly. So, my number 9, here we go again, the Orenburger Canal. I've probably butchered that, and I apologise. So
that, as Phil mentioned, that was... So I basically went from 452 games down to about 50-something games, down to about 14 games. And I really struggled to get down from 14 to 10, obviously, as the 11 showed. But I decided to take off any games that were only 2 players. And that took off 2 off the list, which was one of them.
Any particular reason?
Because we had so much gameplay during lockdown, which was just 2 players, and we've got
sick of playing games with just me.
No, we've got a lot of games that are 2 players or that work well with 2 players. I'd like to have the adaptation to be able to play with larger groups. So for me, I wanted to choose games that gave me that flexibility, because most of these work brilliant. Well, I hope will work brilliantly with 2 players. So why not have that flexibility?
That's fair.
So that's why it didn't feature on my list.
So there you go. They are our number 9s. So let's drop down to 8.
My number 8 was a game called Tiltum.
Oh!
First crossover.
Kirsty mentioned that your merchants collecting resources, fulfilling contracts in the favour of noble families, but the gameplay looks solid, and from what I can see in terms of, there's no negative reviews out there about it, so it looks like a good experience. It's very beige, it's very Euro.
It is very
and I've put here that the theme of traders in the Middle Ages is so generic at this point that mechanisms had better be outstanding. So there's not a lot more I can add to that. It's got contracts, dice rolling, end-game bonuses, set collection, all the good stuff that we like. And it's Board and Dice who consistently deliver really good experiences for Eurogamers.
Good designers, as we mentioned earlier. Good, good pedigree. So
I actually pre-ordered it yesterday, so it's getting picked up.
It's definitely an odd one, isn't it? Because you're right, that traders in the Mediterranean traders in the Middle Ages has been done to death.
So I think you've got to feel confident that you're adding something new to that genre to be able to. I believe from memory, when you're using the dice, you can either use the 2 opposite sides. You get more resources if you use the lower side, but you get more actions if you use the other side. So you have to balance out
that's going to be
how you want to play.
Okay,
and that's my number 8, Tiltum.
Kirsty, your number 8.
So my number 8 is another little one from Spielworks, and that is Pilgrim. It's a 1 to 4 player game. The mechanisms are endgame bonuses, mancala, tile placement, track movement, and worker placement. And this one is currently listed on the Geek at 3.5 weight.
Yeah, that's kind of like that nice mid pushing towards heavy.
I think that will go up.
Yeah,
That's what
probably.
I think from Mancala and Spielworks.
Yeah. So the idea is that you develop your abbey and build pilgrim trails using the Mancala and the 1800 map. You are abbots and abbesses, obviously.
Obviously.
Yeah. Of their own provincial 14th century abbey, and we're each seeking to build the best pilgrim routes to the distant sites via strategic shrines, ordain serfs to become acolytes, give alms to the poor, build essential annexes, and be the most devout. Just, normal day, isn't it?
Right on my street.
Yeah.
So another one about gods and...
Yeah, that seems to be a
religious theme so far.
So this one is actually interestingly played over 26 rounds. Okay. Which sounds massive.
Well, to be fair, when you're in that kind of position these days where you're used to playing 3 to 5 round Euros, that does sound, sound massive.
So... there is a little bit I'm going to read out here, which is it's played over 26 rounds with perfect information. So there's 0 randomness once the game begins.
Okay, so variable setup.
Yes. The 160 sextillion possible starting setups.
A couple then.
Just a few, 1 or 2.
Well, actually, so for those of you who aren't familiar with Mancala as a mechanism in games, probably the easiest point of reference I would give would be 5 tribes.
Yeah.
And if you think about 5 tribes,
or Istanbul as well.
Yeah, 5 tribes. Yeah,
5 tribes more so probably. Yeah.
And just think about like you're putting 4 different coloured things on tiles in 5 tribes. How many trillion variations of setup? And I suspect that'll be because I suspect there'll be your pilgrims, and you'll move them around in that Mancala style. So pick up a group, drop one, drop one, drop one, stop.
Yeah.
That's my guess.
Yeah. So. Yeah, it sounds like it's going to be quite a learn.
Yeah.
When we do that one.
I am terrible at Mancala. It's one of the most difficult methods, right? So you're always trying to be as efficient as you possibly can. So it becomes an efficiency puzzle for me. But I've been looking at that for like the last 6 months. So I'm happy to see it on your top 10, definitely.
It looks quite an interesting board as well. I'm quite. Like the themes this year for me are different from last year.
Yeah,
like last year it was a lot of pick up and deliver, wasn't it? And a lot of
route building. Yeah.
Whereas this one seems to be on the religious side.
Well, let's talk about route building as we go into my number 8. So my number 8 is Village Rails by Osprey Games. Village Rails is about connecting farming communities in sleepy rural England, and just seems like a wonderfully peaceful way of doing business. Nice. It's got everything you'd want or everything you'd expect. So there's some market trading, there's some route building in there. The artwork is okay, it's not blowing me away, but the artwork probably, in my mind, reflects that sleepy nature of the description of the game. Okay. But I kind of feel like Osprey Games have been doing some good, like as a publisher, have been putting some good stuff out recently. They're not like.
They don't get pigeonholed. They like to try different stuff, which is quite nice.
I mean, because it's interesting for Osprey's gone from being a war game book publisher through to now distributing all kinds of crazy games.
Merv, which I quite liked.
Yeah.
Shortlisted for awards.
Yeah, they're doing really well. Cryptid is they're published in the UK, so there's some really good stuff coming out of Osprey, and I like the idea of the route building. I like the idea of I'm not a big railway fan particularly, but it grabbed me as being like, I don't know, it felt like a sleepy, dreamy kind of game that actually probably is a little bit more cutthroat than you anticipate. So that's kind of what I'm hoping for. That's what I'm looking for. Village Rails, my number 8.
Are we ready for number 7?
I think we should.
flying through.
Agree.
So where are we with crossovers then? We've got one crossover at the moment.
One so far.
Let's see. I can't even remember what number 7 is. We'll find out. Number 7 is a game called Revive. It's by Porter Games, Helga Messina, Elif Svensson, Anna Wormland, Christian Amundsen, Osprey. After 5,000 years, everything was destroyed. Lead your tribe and explore the frozen earth, harness its resources, recruit survivors to your cause, build factories with powerful machines, and populate ancient sites to learn your tribe's forgotten technologies. This has been on my list before, and I'm still waiting for it to be released. I'm happy to say it's been pre-ordered.
Nice.
I'm really looking forward to the mechanisms of deck construction, campaigns, tech tree, variable player powers. I have watched a few playthroughs and it seems like a solid result. There's interactivity across the map. You're revealing tiles as you go, which can be expensive. It does have a campaign, which I struggle with sometimes, playing with the same people.
You just haven't been playing with the right people.
Yeah, possibly. But also with campaigns, I liked the Fenris campaign.
Yeah.
So you create that content you can use in future games, which I believe this one does as well. So once it's out there, you can
build
mix
you
it
keep
in.
That's good.
And I think more and more games now are coming with often a light campaign.
I think that's
they're coming with a campaign because I think there's a push to get people to get the game to the table more often now, and the campaign can help to do that. So
yeah, I'm sure it's definitely a choice as opposed to an integral part. But it looks like they've got a hit on their hands and can't wait to play it. As I say, it's definitely one that's being picked up. So we'll see how it plays.
Stuff.
That's my number 7, game called Revive.
Kirsty, you're number 7.
Okay. So, my number 7 is upside down.
That's your number 9.
Gone the wrong way. Okay, my number 7 is a beautiful game, and this one, I was like, I'm not sure. It's the artwork and just the theme of the game that has just kept it on the list, and that is Astra from Mind Clash Games. So this one is about discovering constellations in a highly interactive tactical contest for fame.
Yeah, I'm happy to be famous for discovering constellations.
It's for 2 to 5 players, and it features area majority and influence, which actually seems to be happening in quite a few of my games. End game bonus, it's paper and pencil, it's actually dry wipe, push your luck and set collection, and it's currently listed on the Geek as a 2 weight. And all players involved are playing as eager and curious astronomers who are determined to explore and understand the constellations of the mysterious night sky. You're willing to assist each other and share your discoveries. However, in the end, only one of you will become famous enough to be remembered throughout history. Yeah, so I really like this one. It's a clever mix.
It has stars in it.
And it's stunning. It's just constellations. There's a lot of blue and white. It's got dry wipe, and it's just the artwork was. I knew it was going to be in my list, and it's nowhere near as heavy as the other games on my list, and there'll only be certain people I can play with.
Well, Mind Clash are heavy for famous for heavy games. They're like Tricarion and things like that. So they do put out heavier games generally. So it'd be interesting to see
branching out, diversifying
where it lands.
But this one it kept coming back, and then it just happily landed at number 7.
Okay.
That's Astra.
Yeah. So number 7 for me is a game of establishing and repopulating a world 5,000 years after the civilization has collapsed, and it's called Revive.
No way, boys. We clashed.
We did clash.
Our minds clashed.
We had a mind clash. A lot of things I like about the descriptions of Revive. Also, Ellis Svensson, anything he touches turns to gold. So the fact that he's one of the named designers on there is promising. Porter have been doing well as well, I think, and the turn mechanics I like. Pick a couple of actions, move on. Pick a couple of actions, move on, and that kind of that mechanical flow, I think, works really well in a lot of games. A lot of games ask you to do too much on your turn, and then other players are sort of stagnating while they're waiting for the turn to come around. Whereas Revive has got that take an action, move on kind of mechanic going. So I really like that in games. I like that especially in games where there's a campaign element, because you are going to be involved and invested in what other players are doing on their turn. So it's going to matter to you. So I mean, the artwork looks beautiful as well, to be fair. But I really like the idea of probably a light touch campaign that's going to keep people coming to the table in and taking interesting actions and looking for exciting outcomes. And the other thing a campaign can do is drive divergent strategies for different players. And this is an asymmetrical setup as well. So each culture you take on has got a different kind of core technology.
They've got their own board and machine, I think they call it. And the fact that you're all playing on the same player board, exploring the same map, I think it's quite nice as well.
So I think there's some really good stuff going on there, and I'm really looking forward to giving it a go. And it's a game that it does. When I saw it on the list, I was like, that's a slotting really, because it really works, really appeals to me. It's also 5,000 years in the future after a civilization collapse. Well, most publishers would have given you a bleak dystopian future. They would have made it look dark and dingy and like, you're scrapping for like the last, you're licking the lichen off a rock just to survive. And a port have gone, do you know what? Let's do bright and colourful, and let's make it a world you want to live in. So yes, thank you for giving us a bright, hopeful future, or at least looking future. It might not be, but you've given us that kind of nice finish and gloss on the game. But it's more than
just.
It's
going to have the gameplay. There's no doubt. So it's a solid choice. Yeah.
So that's number 7, Revive. My number 7, Revive. Matt, on to your 6.
Through it. Number 6. Number 6 for me is a game called Rise by DLP Games, Remo Conzado, Marco Pranzo. In Rise, you assume the responsibility for the economic and social development of a city. There are not many limits to your possibilities. On various tracks, you can influence how best to provide for your citizens' well-being, whether through culture, science, or political relations, but all of this can be achieved only in accordance with respect for conservation of the environment and satisfaction of the population. I quite like the box art on this one.
Yeah.
So just that quick, shallow hit. Oh, that looks interesting. Probably drew me into this one. It plays over 12 rounds, so it's not too long. You've got action queue, action events, chaining, track movement, turn order, and variable setup. I do like economic games. I still haven't got Smoky Valley to the table as of yet from last year.
Shocking.
Yeah, we've got to get that played. I've written here that it's got lots of modular boards, which is something that I really enjoy in Yokohama and Crystal Palace. I don't know what the relationship between the boards is at this point in time, but just from what I can see. I also like having tracks in Euro games. I've mentioned here that I really liked the push and the pull of suburbia, managing your population. One thing, building an airport here affects the restaurant that you're next to here. So hopefully it's
really clever.
that kind of thing. Just really looking forward to seeing this one in person at Essen.
Cool.
That's my number 6, a game called Rise.
Okay, so on to my number 6. We've already had one of the names mentioned today by the boys with Revive, and this is from Chili Fox Games. So Chili Fox Games for me, was one of my biggest finds at Essen, and they just blew it out the water with Doodle Dash and
Riverside,
and as far as I'm concerned, everything they touch turns to gold. This also being brought up by a little bit of a hippie dad, definitely thought that this would be really cool. And this game is Come Together. And so it's for 1 to 6 players. It's got variable player powers. It's a worker placement. And the whole aim of the game is to organise the best music festival in the 1960s. Peace. So, it's listed as 2.67 weight on the Geek. The story of the game is it's the late 1960s. A new generation of young people cherish freedom, friendship and love. But they want to create gatherings where everyone can come together in peace and enjoy the ultimate life experience, music. So the idea is that it's a worker placement game with a twist. When you place a worker, you do not immediately gain what you've just claimed.
Okay.
So it's a little bit different. You must wait until a player activates the location, which then activates it for all players at that location.
Okay, that's nice.
So it's a nice little twist on, a
Standard action selection.
Yeah, it's hard to be original with worker placement. That's good.
Yeah.
So players are constantly facing important dilemmas, whether to claim a card or activate a location. Timing of the activation can be crucial. Another dilemma is whether to claim the card you really want and claim a less attractive card in order to gain more publicity by joining players on another location. So this one is just so colourful, it's bright, it's got that 60s vibe.
Yeah, the art was really
so
nice
much
on this.
fun.
I saw
it's
that,
so beautiful. The meeples are fantastic. A lot of hard work and effort's gone into this one. And, we know that Chili Fox Games have got a fantastic team behind them. So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to picking this one up.
Yeah, I'd like the idea of that kind of push and pull decision. Like, do I blow a card here to give me something in the future? Or that's always a nice tension in a game.
Yeah.
So for me, I really enjoyed the look of this. It's so bright and colourful. Like, how can you not enjoy? And it feels quite the level of complexity in the terms of that. Do I do this now? Do I do that? That's going to benefit that. But I love games that make you really work hard. But this feels like it's like work hard, but in a really cool, bright, colourful way.
Flower power.
Yeah. So yeah, that's my number 6. Come Together by Chili Fox Games.
And proving that we can do segues really well, we go from flower power to flow war. Oh, come on!
Yeah. We tried.
So my number 6 flow war is loosely an economic game where you are picking flowers at a flower festival.
Another festival.
And you're completing contracts. It's there's hand management and set collection stuff in there. You're going to expect that. There's some worker placement and turn order stuff going on. Yeah. So you've got a lot of things going on that we like in games, and I think it works well for us. There's an economic turn to it. And I think it just it's so bright and so colourful, and that in itself.
Yeah. The artwork's stunning.
Yeah, thematically, I don't know. It was nice to see something that was a bit different, and I was like,
it's an unusual war game by the sound of it.
Yeah. And I was looking at it, and it kind of drifted in and drifted out, and it drifted in because it was thematically interesting and thematically different. It drifted out because mechanically it might feel a bit samey to other things you've played before. But this feels like mechanically there are going to be some timing elements about when you collect and when you prepare yourself for future rounds. Okay. So for me it was like, actually, I want to play something a bit with a different feel. I want to play a game that's got so much table presence. People go, oh, what's this?
That's nice.
And it's got it in abundance, and hopefully the mechanics come together in a really smooth, flowing game.
Nice.
So my
he's followed them today.
I know, I'm really sorry. So my number 6 is Flow War by Primigenio, and the designers are Isra C and She S. There you go.
Nice.
So Flow War, I think it could be a really nice game to play. Looking forward to having a go at Essen.
Definitely.
Yeah. Picking up a copy.
So that's my number 6. So number 5. We're halfway through the list. Yeah.
Wow.
Here we go. Number 5.
Da-da-da.
Number 5 is a game called Sabika. Sabika is by Germain P. Milan, publisher Ludonova, and you play as the role of one of the Nasrid nobles who contributed to the construction of towers, gardens and palaces of this ancient monument. In addition to this honourable task, you have to establish trade routes through Europe and the Maghreb. These routes will provide you sufficient income to be able to take on the demanding tribute that has been commanded by the Catholic monarchs. In exchange for your work, you will receive military protection against the various conflicts of the Typhus Kingdom. Only 2 mechanisms listed for this game. Events, which can swing a game, and rondel. I've heard it's a triple rondel.
Good.
So
About time.
Like that.
I've never come across a triple rondel before, so we'll see. The main reason this hits the list is the same designer as Bitoku.
Yeah.
And the two of you taught me Bitoku not very long ago, and I thought it was absolutely fantastic. What a game.
Yeah.
Didn't even make my list last year, so hoping that he knocks it out the park with this one as well. There's a map in the game, and I do like playing on a board that has got map locations to visit.
Yeah.
The art and components look excellent too. So keeping everything crossed that this is going to be a huge hit for Jermaine Millen.
It's the building and the construction of the Alhambra Palace in Granada.
Oh,
as well.
okay.
So that I don't know how I know that.
How do you know?
I don't know. Anyway, Kirsty, on to your number 5.
I noticed that the box art reminded me a little bit of Merv.
Okay, yeah, it does. It's got that flavour,
really,
isn't it?
like,
Yeah, that's
really
interesting.
Beautiful. So on to my number 5 is Oak from Game Brewer. So this is for 1 to 4 players. It features hand management, set collection, worker placement, different worker types, and it's currently listed at a 3.3 weight on the Geek. Now, this one is just beautiful. The board is stunning, the colours, it's just, it's fabulous. And the aim of the game is to become the head of a tribe of druids to unlock the secrets of the Arch Oak, which is like the elder, the powerful one. The oak puts you in the role of a leader of one of 4 different druid orders, and you're attempting to establish that your order deserves to be chosen by the Arch Oak spirit to stay and learn its secrets.
The big tree.
Yeah,
The big tree.
Exactly, the big tree. It's
The boss tree. The boss tree, yeah.
This one is being created by Game Brewer for us. In the UK, but it's also being created by a Czech organisation as well for the Czech market. Thanks to my sister's boyfriend in updating me on that one yesterday
really?
when we were having a little chat, so that's nice. So this one was really eye-catching. I like the theme of it, which I suppose in some ways, the gods crafted the first humans and animals from wood, apparently. So it's yet another god-themed game,
You're focused
isn't it, for me this time. But yeah, I really like this one. I'm just really attracted to it, and it's a little bit weighty. So
Got some good reviews it has, so hopefully it'll be as good as people have been saying.
Yeah, the artwork looked absolutely breathtaking.
Yeah.
For that one.
Yeah,
Definitely. And is it there to buy? Is that one that we could?
Well, I filtered the list so that if it was available
For sale.
it would feature on the list. So
it should be there.
I made sure that it was A, in English, B, available to
Purchase.
preferably at Essen. Some of them are pre-order only, which I need to go through and pre-order. It's going to be expensive, but I'm going to do it. Then the other thing was that it was a standalone game. So I won't have any expansions on my list because I wanted to make sure that standalone games were given a chance. And then the other thing, which was kind of crucial in my list, was that it was released on or approximately the latter quarter of this year. So September, October, November this year.
It should be available.
Yeah, it should be available.
And that was the parameters for my list, because we didn't actually discuss what the parameters were. So that was for me.
that's fine.
How much has theme played a part in it for you guys?
I think the theme has put games on the list that I might not have gone for. Without the theme, like Flower, I think I probably wouldn't have picked if it hadn't been for the theme.
Yeah.
But actually, I'd say 60% of my list is about solid mechanics and designers and publishers that I think are trustworthy and have produced some really good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, so with me, there's a couple which are either newbies or newbies working alongside people that designers that we know of, or newbie designers that are being backed by big names. For me, some of it was as simple as that attracts me visually.
Yeah.
Now let's read about I
agree.
the story. And some of it was like the variation in how we know, like the worker placement we come together, like which one was it earlier that I mentioned with the change on the normal.
Here's the last one.
Deities, that's the one, where it's similar to the Dado Cheng. It's things that felt similar but different for me, for some of those. So, yeah, that's my number 5, sorry. Oak.
My number 5? Oh.
Sorry, go on.
My number 5 is Lacrimosa. The completion of Wolfgang Amadeus's lost masterpiece. And this was another one that theme and publisher really drew me in. It's a theme that I don't think I've seen before. No. And there's musical themes, but this come together as a musical theme. Yeah. There's musical themes, but I kind of like the vibe of this, and it kind of feels a bit like thematically like your. Lost words. It feels like the games that pull a bit more detail and pull into it and draw down into a little more detail that you actually, whether you're like like Gutenberg, for example, or where you're actually doing something in detail as part of the game rather than this sort of grand overview style game. So for me, Lacrimosa looked like a really good shout.
So really a De Vere title as well.
It is a De Vere title. Yeah. So De Vere Publishing, which after Bitoku and Luna Capita last year. I'm hoping it's a safe bet. Designers Joe Sensi and Ferran Renalius. Not sure what they've done before. That's not. But multi-use cards, pool building, deck building, and bag building potentially as part of the composition. You're finding bits of the composition from other composers, and then you're deciding whether you're going to sort of publish it or whether you're going to hide it and keep it for later rounds. So there's some. It looks like there's some really interesting interactions and actions within the game. Yeah. And like I say, the theme really just appealed to me. I like music at the best of times, and I don't see many games that are musically set. So that felt like a good shout. So my number 5, Lacrimosa from De Vere Games.
I looked at putting this one on the list, and I was just a bit. It's quite a niche theme.
It is a niche theme.
Complete. Is it Mozart's last musical piece?
Well,
I was just like,
he's the god of music, and you're into gods.
He is. Should have featured, shouldn't it?
Looks cool.
Yeah, and it was one of those that I was like,
yeah,
because obviously De Vere, you're going to get a result, but just. A couple of others just tipped it for me.
Yeah, that's fine. Absolutely fine. So that's my number 5.
Very cool.
To our number 4s.
Number 4 for me is a game called Galenus or Galenus by Harry Pekka Kusala and Ion Game Design. Galenus is a worker placement game where you plan to do up to 6 actions and then decide how to resolve them. As such, some players can still be planning their actions while you are already resolving them. You can choose to recruit and treat patients, gaining knowledge in one of 4 humours, publish works based on that knowledge, acquire herbs to aid your work, rejuvenate in the baths, adopt a new philosophy. Can you say it for me? Philosophy. Thank you.
You got it.
And at the end of the year, you'll complete in medical contest, expending your focus and knowledge to gain reputation. If you publish enough notable works or otherwise to make the biggest impact on Galenus, you will earn his respect and enter his inner sanctum. Set collection, worker placement, 2 mechanisms I like very much. I don't have any medical themed games in my collection. It's a bit of an unusual one. It's got a very interesting looking board, all based on Roman architecture, which looks good. You've got your own player mat, which I always quite like, taking stuff off your player mat and getting benefits and resources. Ion Game Designs tend to do more complex games. I'm not sure how complex this one is, so it'll be interesting to see where it falls in terms of complexity. Okay, that's my number 4. Galenus or Galenus?
I'd say Galenus, but I'm not sure because you said
Galenus. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Fingers crossed, it's a good one.
I looked at this one. This one was probably in my last, my 20s before I put right down. Yeah, and it was just, it's beautiful. I really like the theme of it, and the artwork looks really nice. And I'm not sure why I didn't go for it actually. I think there were just 1 or 2 that just pipped it to the post. But yes, it's very beautiful. Okay, so my number 4 has already featured on the list, on someone else's list, and that is Woodcraft from Delicious Games. 1 to 4 players, 3.75 weight on the Geek right now. grow trees, gather wood and other materials, craft items, and build the best workshop. Obviously, everything that Matt's already said. So I'm not going to go into all that again. But yeah, fantastic team. With Vladimir Succi and the newbie Ross Arnold. So he's originally a Brit, Ross Arnold, lives in America now. So it'd be interesting to see how they've teamed up together, to see how it all works out. This one obviously was high on the hotness list, and it's one of those that when you've got someone with such a good reputation, I'm fairly confident that this one maybe should have been a bit higher. And I have switched these numbers around several times since before.
Well, his Messina game was our top game from last year, wasn't it?
It was Messina was superb.
Yeah.
And Praga the year before was also a rock. With a couple of odd design choices of having the 3D wall, which I don't think was a good choice, but the game itself was rock solid.
Yeah.
I get a feeling from his designs, he wants you to travel one path or go heavy into one or two things and then try something different next game, which I quite like because you can't do everything.
No.
So it will be interesting to see.
Yeah, so obviously it's already featured, but it's on my list as number 4.
Okay, my number 4 is, has already been mentioned.
So how many crossovers is that now?
Is Sabika.
You wouldn't believe there are 900 games to choose from at this point in time, but does look good.
Here's the problem with that. So, for those of you who have not visited the Alhambra Palace in Granada in Spain, you should, because it's one of the most beautiful sites I've ever been to. And when I saw a game was out there, was being published about building the Alhambra Palace, I was like, I'm probably going to be in. It's not a guarantee. And then it was Germain Pimelan. So that was Bitoku's designer. That's like another huge tick in the box. The triple rondel mechanism, I'm curious. It says interconnected rondels. So I'm wondering if in my head it's like a circle with a circle coming off it. And you'll have to divert onto a different rondel. Or just
it's more of a bullseye. It's within. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It just thematically really appeals, like massively appeals to me. From the a really, someone who's produced a really solid game in Bitoku. So I'm really excited to see how that game's going to play. And I saw it and I was like, that's on my list.
Yeah.
I don't know what number it's going to be on my list, but it's on my list.
Yeah.
I know you know it's number 4.
The idea of trade routes and exploring.
Yeah, there's loads there.
Yeah.
There's loads there, and it's hopefully going to be a really good game. So that's my number 4, Sabika.
Shall I go?
Top 3. We're there.
Here we go.
We're there, people.
This is the cream of the crop now.
The only games you should bother about.
No.
Number 3 is Lacrimosa.
Oh!
From De Vere Games with Gerard Assini, Ferran Renalius. In Lacrimosa, you're taking the role of a patron of the late musician Mozart, contributing with their funds to the composer's works one last time. During the game, you play 2 different timelines, present and the past. You commission the missing parts of the Requiem from other composers in order to complete it. I can't wait to see what this is like, Phil.
It's going to be good.
Endgame bonuses, deck building, multi-use cards. I mentioned in one of our earlier videos, there were so few games about music making. And this year, there's obviously, it's a theme that's come to the front, which is good. The map of Europe looks great. I think it's got tiles on it, which adds that variability. So when you're traveling around, it can be different. There's a fantastic music sheet at the bottom of the map, and players can record their statistics with musical notes. So I thought that was quite a nice touch.
Cute touch.
If it's got the diversity and variety of Bitoku, we're going to be laughing. So, De Vere, you're on fire right now. Keep doing what you're doing. And I look forward to getting this to the table. That's my number 3, Lacrimosa.
Okay, so on to my number 3. It's another one we've already heard. Sorry, guys. This one is Revive from Porta Games.
It's the 3-way crossover.
Yep.
Of which I think there's one more maybe two more to come.
We'll see. Obviously, we know it's 1 to 4 players, fantastic team, and it's a 3.5 weight on the Geek at the moment. I'm not going to go into what it is. It's a beautiful board, a beautiful theme, you know, as everyone's already said. Just so nice to be a bright re-civilization game rather than dark.
Yes.
So, yeah, my number 2, Revive from Porter Games.
Number 3, actually.
Number 3, Revive from Porter Games.
Yeah. So my number 3 is Tribes of the Wind.
Oh,
That does look good.
Yeah. Joachim Thom is the designer. The eye catcher, Vincent Dutray art, just looks absolutely stunning. There's going to be it's grid coverage, tile placement game.
Yeah.
And, you know,
Nice theme.
It's a weird one because like tile placement, I feel almost like it's been done to death, but the artwork looks just breathtaking. You're going to be playing cards from your hand, so there's going to be a hand management section of the game, and then you're going to explore parts of the world that's opening up in front of you. So I think for me there's enough interest there to say, okay, let's see a tile placement game. To be fair, I say like tile placement games have been done to death, but I still go back and pick up a tile placement game. We've reviewed Acropolis recently, which is as clean a tile placement game as you can get. Yeah. But I'm not, you know, it's going to sit in the collection alongside Carcassonne. I don't mind, you know, it's one of those. So hopefully Tribes of Wind, the artwork's stunning. The mechanics sound interesting, and hopefully it'll be an exciting game to play. So Tribes of the Wind is my number 3.
Excellent, good choice. Right then.
Number 2's.
Number 2.
What's it going to be?
Here we go. I can't even remember. No. Number 2 is a game by Mac Gertz called Crossing Oceans. It features 50 historic ships. Crossing Oceans revives the golden era of ocean liners at the turn of the 20th century. Even larger, fastest steamships revolutionised maritime traffic. Daring shipping companies opened steamship lines to the major ports worldwide. Modern steel juggernauts replace traditional sailing vessels and completely intensely dominate on the shipping routes. So it builds off an earlier game called Transatlantic. I own it, but never got it to the table. Mac Gertz, I've been on something of a tear of his games lately, playing Navigador, which is fantastic, and Imperial 2030, which is a bit of a specialist economic game. It takes a lot of plays to get into, but I've thoroughly enjoyed every play. You're creating a fleet of ships, of which there are 50s. That's quite interesting. Wow, I haven't got any shipping games. I've got Transatlantic, but I haven't played it. It sounds like this might supersede it, to be honest. So we'll see how that works out. It's got pick up and deliver, which I really like, and of course Matt Gertz is famous for his rondelles. So can't wait to try it, and that's my number 2, Crossing Oceans.
Exciting.
Okay.
So that one was in my top 20 as well. Yeah, so there's a lot actually featuring in the top 20. So my number 2 is one that has already featured again, and it's our second crossover for all of us, and it's Sabika from Ludonova. Obviously 1 to 4 players, events, rondels, 3.25 weight. Jermaine P. Milan, designer Batoku. What more can we say? That game was amazing, and I hope this one will be just as good. There's no point in me telling you about it. You already know about it. It's one to pick up, and it's one I'm going to pick up. So that's my number 2.
Yep.
It's been pre-ordered. It's on the hit list. It's coming.
It's there.
Watch this space for reviews.
Yeah.
Okay, so my number 2 is Critical Foundation Season 1.
Feels like there might be more than one.
Well, I hope so. It's always like a risky thing, isn't it? If you put Season 1 onto a box cover, you've got to be confident. You've got to be confident. Okay, so on my ongoing quest to get Kirsty to do a roleplay game at some point, we have played like games like Descent, which is a bit dungeon crawly, but has a roleplay element. We've picked up some roleplay games at Tabletop Scotland to give a go. The lighter roleplay games look really interesting.
Squeeze those in.
I've also picked up some Choose Your Adventure books. Here we go. And this one, so I like roleplay. And this one is a board game with RPG stylings.
Okay.
So you have got a games master, someone in charge of the game, and you have got people around the table who are going to be doing skill checks and skill references to be able to do things within the game, but the things within the game sit within a board gamey style.
Yeah.
It's from Deities Games, the guys that did A Wonderful World, Wonderful Kingdom.
The Potager.
Thank you.
Isn't it the blue dog or something like
Yes.
that? Something it translates to.
And Outlive was one of theirs as
Yeah,
well.
that's a good one.
So there's a bit of pedigree there on the game design front. It just, to me, it's 9 episodes taking 30 minutes to play. You're playing within a TV series.
Yeah.
And you got sort of exploration, science fiction-y stuff. It looks like it's going to be really, well, I think hopefully going to be really interesting to do a guided adventure for people. And that 30 minutes time slot is something you don't get in role-play games.
No.
Right.
But if it can give you the vibe of a role-play game, I'm all in. And for me, Critical Foundation Season 1, I was reading the descriptions of it, looking at some of the artwork within it. It just looks like it has the potential to be a really great intro to that style of game for people, and then they can make their mind up whether they want to take a step further and go full on D&D, or whether they actually that type of game is that's the right level for me from a role play perspective. So, Critical Foundation Season 1 is my number 2.
I feel like that's a real interesting space, and there should be a lot more RPG board game crossovers.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a reason that there aren't. I don't know, but it feels like it's a lot of
Maybe it's
potential.
something new.
It's difficult to do because an RPG really is an open sandbox where you can do anything you want whenever you want, and a board game is a limiting and restricting factor.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I feel like there's a real challenge there because the two things are almost feel like they're opposed.
Yeah.
Because over here I can walk down any street in this imagined world. Over here I've got a board game telling me what the limitations is.
Yeah.
And I think that's why dungeon crawlers in general have done really well.
Yeah.
Because they take certain aspects of role-play games and the action elements of role-play games and really focusing on that.
Yeah.
Whereas the role-play stuff seems to drift to one side. So I'm hoping with this that actually the role-play elements are strong enough to keep me interested.
10 years ago, there were a lot of one versus all board games where there's one person running it and there's a team of people trying to kill the aliens or something like that. So it'd be interesting to see what it's like for
You
them.
had that on your one of those on your wrestling list last year, didn't you?
Yeah.
It was a woman's name.
Adele.
Adele, that was the one. Yeah.
Did it even come to the UK?
No.
Maybe we'll pick it up at Essen.
That's a bit of a
this year.
theme, isn't it? There's a few games that haven't made it here.
It was a demo last time, so maybe you'll be able to buy it this time.
Maybe. We will see. If I can, I probably will. We are on to our number ones. We've had, so to date, I believe we've got 2 3-way crossovers in Revive and Sabika.
Yeah. Any other crossovers?
Read into that what you will.
So let's see.
Any other crossovers?
There are probably some other crossovers along the way, but let's see if we get another 3-way.
Okay. The game I'm most looking forward to at Essen 2022 is Come Together.
Oh! Sorry.
By Vigard, Eilers Sterud, Ellis Svensson, Asmund Svensson, publisher Chili Fox Games, who are on a tear at the moment.
Yeah,
they
really
seem
are.
to be doing a lot of right things. In Come Together, you organise your own festival using volunteers to attract an audience and the hottest artists, build stages and camps, gain publicity to make your festival the best of all time.
Nice.
Mechanisms, variable player powers, worker placement. I've watched some playthroughs and it looks absolutely fantastic. If I take this action now, do I take it back and get a small benefit, or do I leave it and hope that I can get a bigger benefit?
Power it up later.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely
So that's a really interesting element of this. There's not enough music games out there, so I was happy to see another music theme. I've seen and I've read it's a little bit heavier than people expect. So there's a little bit of crunch to it by the sound of things. So yeah, the decision making I really like the look of, and just can't wait to try it out. That's my number 1. Crossover, Come Together.
Interesting. It does. It looks stunning, and like you say, Chili Fox Games are doing really well. And the one thing I would say about Chili Fox Games is, and this is not a criticism to any other publishers or designers in the world who are producing really great games, But Chili Fox Games inject fun into their games.
Yeah.
Like
I agree.
you actually laugh and have fun when you're playing them.
Yeah.
And that's something that I sometimes feel like we get very serious about our Euro games, and we sit and ponder, and we've had a good time, but we're not laughing throughout.
No.
So I think Chili Fox Games do something special in capturing an essence of fun.
Yeah.
And Chili Fox have got, Chili Fox Games created their own label because they've got all these games they were doing with Porter Games, with, I think it mainly was Porter Games actually, because Magnificent. What else have we got that's theirs?
Santa Maria was
Santa
one.
Maria. There's
Is Avenue a Porter?
Avenue, yeah. So there's quite a few that they were doing, but actually, the Svensson family, we're like, actually, why don't we just have our own little one as well as working with big people like a Porter? And why not? It's worked.
Yeah.
What else did you do during lockdown? Okay, so my number one. And my number one has gone from being number 11 on the list to being number 3 on the list to then being number 1. And this is a new designer who has a big backer behind them. And the game, I'm probably going to say it completely wrong, is Sitter Stato. It's by GeoChics Games, who brought us On Mars, Lisboa, Altiplano. There's some big games. There's a massive list.
Florenza X Anniversary Edition is also a really good economic game.
Yep. It's for 1 to 4 players. It's a deck, bag and pool building, which actually was a theme of a lot of the games this year. It's got variable player powers and it's a worker placement. In terms of weight, it's a 3.23 weight. Now this one for me is an unusual theme.
Okay.
I'll be honest. It's not something I'd usually go for. You are representing a maritime republic in the middle of the Mediterranean
Sailing
Sea.
game.
Yes, you're influencing in the Mediterranean Sea, basically. The mechanisms at the core of the game is bag building. So you acquire cubes and place them in your bag. Each round you draw several cubes. Depending on their number of colour, they'll enable you different actions. The game lasts 7 rounds, and each round players may keep playing actions until everyone's passed. Action cards increase the choices as well, and players may discover interesting combos if they're planned well. So there's also an expansion which is available, which is listed. So they've created the game and the expansion, which will both be available at Essen, which introduces new cities for people to play as with their influence. It's got 15 new power cards, and it also extends the game from 1 to 4 players to 1 to 5 players. So they've already thought about playing for larger groups, for like board game groups, etc. The expansion allows the players to add variability to their games, and also, as I said, play with 5 players. So it's set in the 12th century, and thanks to the Holy Crusades, so again, I've stuck with my religious theme this year, to develop the new merchant routes. A few cities in England have grown in Europe have grown so powerful that they become city-states called maritime republics.
Okay.
And that's the idea of the game. So it's very unusual for me to have that theme of game. Yeah, but...
And me, to be honest.
Yeah.
Really?
But for me, it's a different theme for me, and it's one that just kept niggling at me. And the artwork that you can see, it looks beautiful. There's colour there, but there's plenty of tracks. There's plenty of different placement areas. It's complex. I like the bag building element of it. It's something, it just kept calling to me, and I'm not sure what it was, but it felt like something I wanted to put my belief behind.
Flew up your list.
Yeah, and it did, and it really did, because it's one of the first that I saw, and I was just a bit like, I don't know, is it enough with that theme? But I just have faith in the producers.
That's the religious theme coming through again.
Amen, Kirsty, amen.
Yeah.
Amen to that.
Preach!
Yeah, but it's something that, it just, something about it kept drawing me back, so therefore I put
You've got to teach it now, it's your number 1. Buy it, teach it, learn it, teach it.
Maybe. So that's my number 1, Sitter Stato.
So my number 1 is a third three-way crossover. And comes to anyone who knows this channel and these three people probably as no surprise, but Woodcraft is slotted in at my number 1 slot. Delicious Games, the weighting is often right. The mechanisms within the game are often right. The flow works. I like the fact that I can pick a strategy, push a strategy hard, see how it comes out, and then I can do the same on a different approach
true.
next time. So I'm hoping for all of that from Woodcraft. You guys have covered everything that needs to be said, but I would say Woodcraft, Vladimir Suchi, Ross Arnold, and Delicious Games. I feel like it's a safe slot in at number 1, and maybe I should have taken a greater risk at my number 1, but it's like, I know I'm getting that game.
Yeah, if you know that's the one for you. I think it's got a really unique action selection mechanism where you choose that action, the board spins, and it changes the bonuses for everyone else on their turn. So it does look unique in that respect.
Yeah. So I think so we've got there were three-way crossovers and a few two-ways. So that was quite nice. And hopefully there's some interest for everyone there. Yeah. Is there anything else you guys would like to add about your Essen selections?
I've got a couple of honourable mentions, but I was going to ask you about expansions.
Okay.
What do you think in terms of Delicious Games? They've got all these good games, but no expansions. And I remember the Underwater Cities one was really good. I think there's value in coming back to the earlier titles. I would have loved to have seen something from Messina possibly this year.
I think there is value in coming back to earlier titles, but you need, financially, you need the audience.
Yeah.
So if Underwater Cities was huge. That was very buzzy. Both Prague and Messina don't seem to have had the same level of buzz, although I would say they are genuinely superb games. If you haven't had a chance to play them, please do, because if you like your heavy Euros, you will like both of those games.
We do cover them on the channel, so feel free to scroll through and you will find.
But if you don't get enough initial purchase, there's no value in producing an expansion. And I think that's sometimes the thing that stops games getting an expansion. I feel like Prague could probably do with a little expansion, nothing significant, but just something to just tweak up a couple of mechanics. Yeah. I don't feel like Messina at the moment in my head needs an expansion.
That's quite a sign of a good game then, probably.
Yeah.
Maybe it's like, I suppose that both those games play 1 to 4 players. If you're wanting to play it with a slightly larger number, if there's the ability to add new players in, but then that affects balance.
I think with modular boards as well, there's a lot of variability, so maybe that lessens the need for an expansion if they're highly variable.
If you've delivered a winner, why change it? Very often expansions added to either generally increase player count, to add more variability in
more
for
complexity
players, or more complexity, or slight change in startup. So actually, if it's not needed, if they've hit the jackpot the first time, maybe they just concentrate on creating some even more jackpots.
We shall see.
Honourable mentions?
I had a few honourable mentions. Plan B Games, who are famous for Azul, have got a game called Maui set in Hawaii. And generally, it's a very abstract towel-based game where you're laying towels out under umbrellas on a beach. Just with their gameplay and their reputation, I'm sure they wouldn't release anything that's not of a very high quality. There's a little game by a Polish publisher called Uptown, where you've got a starting bar and then you're building cities and skyscrapers and offices, and you get to play cards on other people's buildings that look good. There's a German game called Sauscharf, which is about chilies, and you're managing a hand of chili cards and everyone's contributing. It's by Wolfgang Kramer, so that's probably one to watch out for. Caldera Park was one I was interested in.
It is Savannah Park.
Savannah Park,
the sequel.
Savannah Park, the sequel. This time it's personal.
So fingers crossed that's a one to watch. And the last one was a roll and write game called World Exchanges, where you're buying and selling cities to gain the most profit and doing that. So that looked quite appealing. But those were just a few of the smaller, more family games that I thought would be interesting.
I thought Caldera Park was interesting, and I think I quite enjoyed Savannah Park. It's not a rush to play game for me, but I quite enjoy it. But it feels like there's sometimes designers get into a habit of designing a simplified game, releasing it, see how it does, and then releasing a more complex variant.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised if Caldera Park does well, that next year we'll have Tundra Park set in the Arctic or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it just feels like there's certain designers build like complexity into their games in that way.
Okay.
Cool.
Kirsty, anything from you?
No, I think I did my my honourable mention as number 11, so I'll let you carry on.
I guess there's a few things I want to just highlight that weren't on my list that people who know me probably expected them to be on my list. So I made an active choice to avoid re-implementations of games, but there are a few that I'm interested in. So Terra Nova really jumps out. I'm not a big fan of Terra Mystica. I feel it's overcomplicated and a bit bloaty. So a streamlined version of that.
I thought that was going on your list as I was planning mine. I thought, yeah, that's a good shout, fella. I like the look of that one. I think it comes with like 10 factions to start off as well, so it's good.
And
variety.
Terra Mystica's fine, but it just, to me, it's a game that was of its era and is probably past its best these days.
Oh, there'll be a comment on that one.
I know, but that's just it's an opinion.
It's a personal opinion.
You can have one, I
You're
can have one.
entitled
That's
to
fine.
it. Comment below if you disagree. Comment below if you agree.
Great Western Trail, Argentina will be released at Essen. A Great Western Trail sits in my top 5 games. I love it. I think it's a fantastic game. All accounts suggest that this one might be better. However, it is a re-implementation of a game, so I didn't put it on my list. And we know there's a third implementation coming as well. Because that'll be New Zealand.
New Zealand, isn't it?
So they were kind of there or thereabouts. And there's a game called Freya, which is about trading on trading boats in Thailand, which looks beautiful and interesting. And I wanted to put it on my list, but I couldn't move anything out of my top 10 that I really wanted to see, so it didn't quite make it. So, and there are some expansions coming as well for games that you know and love. So they didn't make it because I didn't. We don't. It's not. This list isn't about expansions. It's about standalone games. So. Essen's got a lot coming. Has
Alexander Pfister burnt his bridges? Because none of us have mentioned Sky Mines. I was sure that would be on one of your twos.
It's a re-implementation of Mombasa,
affectionately known as Moonbasa.
The Moonbasa. So it's a re-implementation of Mombasa, so it didn't make my list. Re-implementations were not going to be on my list. I do want a copy, however, because I don't own a copy of Mombasa, but I really enjoy Mombasa. So no, Alexander Pfister hasn't burnt his bridges with Doom Lake. However, Mombasa has one of the most interesting card selection and card economy mechanisms I've seen in a game. So I'm really excited to see that game. Space Mines? Yeah.
Sky Mines.
Thank you.
Sky Mines. And there's always, as we're going around Essen, there's always these small independent booths that you go and see, and you can have a demonstration and see if you like the game. So I'm sure there'll be a lot of surprises that we can talk about.
Plenty for us to talk about while we're over there.
Definitely.
And plenty to bring back.
Yeah, if you are exhibiting at Essen, or if you're going to be at Essen and you want us to be there, want us to give you a bit of coverage, get in touch. You can comment below, you can send us a message. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram. Just send us a message and we will try and schedule you in.
Yeah, Board Game Pix is on TikTok as well, I believe.
Yes, find us on TikTok.
Yeah.
So, if you have enjoyed this video and found it useful, please hit like and subscribe. Give us a thumbs up. We really appreciate it.
Yep.
You've done your bit,
I've done my little bit, so I'll put it out of sync this time.
Damn it. Check out Matt's Board Game Pix YouTube channel. It is fantastic. Some really beautiful photographs.
Thank you.
Matt's wonderful voice doing some voiceover work.
Definitely.
Yes.
Other than that,
tranquil and relaxing.
if you're going to be in Essen and you see us around, stop by, say hello.
Bye. Say hello. We'd be really appreciative of it.
We'll see you there.
See you soon, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.